And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Ludes here to talk about Domination. So, Homecoming Domination dropped on Wednesday. I was going to make a budget squad to help, all my new players or anyone else who's just looking for like a cheap squad they can run through Domination with. But I wanted to wait for Friday's content because I figured we were going to get some budget demons, right? The only expensive card on this entire squad is DRAYMOND Green, right? And he runs you about 26, 27k. The rest of these guys you can get for extremely cheap. So at point guard, we're running Brandon Jennings. Look, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I'm just a Brandon Jennings fan. GERALD Green you can get for discard value. Same with Jarvis Hayes. Both of these guys are extremely useful in Domination. Jarvis Hayes is a 3-and-D lockdown guy. He's essentially better Matisse Thybulle. Wang ZZ is obviously out here. This is the budget GOAT as far as centers and big men go. You can get him for like 2,000 MT tops. On the bench, we're going to run like Tyrese Maxey. We're going to run Paul Arizin. Jonathan Isaac, I would say, is really the only guy who I'd be like, hey, this dude is super helpful and one of the best for his prices. Everybody else is kind of like very, I would say, personal preference. Now, the reason I like Maxey and Paul Arizin is because if you're over on current gen, you're going to want to attack the rim. That's kind of the meta. But if you're over on next gen, you're going to want to fight off of screens a lot more and shoot more threes if you can. Paul Pierce is excellent on next gen, which is why I'm including him in this. On current gen, I would say there's better options, though he is an incredibly solid rim runner. But on next gen, he's fantastic. He's probably one of the best budget wings that you can pick up for next gen. Other guys that would be in this category would probably be like Robert Covington, but I think Paul Pierce is like a competent enough defender, but he brings you a lot more ball handling and rim attacking capability. He feels a lot faster than his 81 speed, 75 speed with ball. Even if you're just using him as a cone on next gen, he's an incredibly good cone. That I will say. I don't really think there's too much of a difference between the signature and non-signature, but the price difference isn't crazy. I just happen to have this one, so I mean, if you can get the signature one, grab him. The reason I'm using Dikembe Mutombo is just because I need a big rim protector down there, and he is one of the best rim protecting cards in the game. Now, he's going to stall out your offense a little bit, but it is what it is. The reason these three guys are down here is because Domination will chew you up and spit you out in regards to injuries. They happen a lot, especially if you're doing an XP challenge for a certain player. So, guys from the Signature Series set will tend to get a little bit injured because there's active XP challenges for them. I promise that's the case. Like, I don't know what you guys think in regards to that, but I personally believe that injuries occur more when XP is active. That's just my personal opinion. I recommend using Sapphires, especially like quote-unquote overpowered Sapphires, because they're cheap to implement in your lineup, and they can come in and hold their own just fine. You know what I mean? Brian Russell would be another guy who's pretty good. I mean, he's just a 3-and-D cone guy. I personally would use Troy Daniels. He's a little small to play at small forward, but at the same time, like, you can actually cook with Troy Daniels relatively easy. Ilgauskas is the center of choice, either masked or non-masked, because he's massive and he can stretch the floor a little bit. So that's why I use him. And honestly, if I'm ever having issues with Dikembe, like as far as like floor spacing, if they're locking me down, I just need somebody who's going to be able to step out and hit. Like, you can plug in Ilgauskas for like a short run if you need to. So, other cards that you could realistically look at as far as, I don't know, cards that you might want to use or that are cheaper. Obviously, any reward cards, right? Like, any reward cards. I tried to do this without doing reward cards in general, just because if you're a new player, you can build this squad for relatively cheap. You can come out here and compete and stuff like that. But if you have guys like Steve Francis and John Morant, yeah, obviously use them. Even like Mike Conley's pretty good, but if you're on current gen, I do prefer like a rim running point guard. Derrick Rose is solid as well, and he's extremely cheap. I prefer to use Tyrese Maxey because he has the ability to shoot. Rose can shoot, he can hit, but on superstar difficulty, I prefer someone like Maxey. At the shooting guard, I mean, you can run like Cliff Hagan or CJ McCollum or Bingo if you want. If you have any of those guys, they're fine. Eddie Jones is obviously really good as well. I don't know. It just kind of depends. Like I said, I'm trying to do this as cheap as possible with a well-balanced squad. James Harden, if you have him, he's good. Danny Green's a good 3-and-D guy, but he doesn't bring you anything at attacking the rim. OJ Mayo's pretty solid. He's horrible defensively. Marcus Smart is obviously still always really good. Del Curry's a decent sniper, but brings you nothing on the defensive end, so it just kind of depends what you're looking to do there. Small forwards, if you have guys like Chris Mullin or Hedo Turkoglu, like those guys are obviously good. John Havlicek can come out here and get buckets as well, and he plays pretty competent defense. Bruce Bowen's solid, but I personally would just use Jarvis Hayes because he's significantly cheaper and essentially the same. Mikal Bridges is great as well. He brings you a little bit of rim attacking too. If you're looking for a cheap power forward, like I still think Jonathan Isaac is the way to go, but you can get away with running Poku as well. Franz Wagner is somebody I like a lot, but he plays no defense. Power forwards, yeah, Paul Millsap and Covington are great. Cheap and great. I mean, Covington's like 4K though. Like he's not exactly cheap at this point. Like people know about Covington, but the power forward position is the weakest for sure when it comes to budget cards. As far as centers, I mean, if you have like Horford or Vucevic, those guys work really, really well. Vucevic will get abused on the interior. Don't ever count out the CPU. The CPU will take a gold card and make them fire. Like it really doesn't matter. They pick one player every single game to just go off for no reason. So as far as like what team we can play to test out the squad, I'm going to look for like the best one, at least in my range. Canada's decent. I feel like I just played Ontario too, so that's kind of interesting. Missouri, some hoopers in Missouri. The team's not that great. Louisiana might have to get it. Yeah, they might have to get it. Alabama is pretty tough as well. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go with the Kentucky squad though. Like Pink Diamond Rondo. Philly's good too. Thankfully, it's not Pink Diamond Kobe. So the Illinois squad is just all Bulls. So this is the squad we're going to use. We're going to go and play Kentucky. They got a good range of pink diamonds, a lot of defense with like Hagan, Rondo, and Dave Cowan. So I'm going to test them out. They have gold PJ Washington, who, you know what? This is actually perfect. I was just talking about how golds can just randomly be fire. So let's see if that's the case. Right off the bat, I turn off adaptive coaching engine, and then I will engage Hawks freelance, 4-out 1 active. I was going to say like active. I don't know why I was going to say that. And then Bucks 2018. I usually just use Hawks, but if I want to switch it up, I'll use those guys. Now, as far as screen, I don't know. Passing screen away is good. I'll usually keep that one. I'll usually throw like quick 5-out in here because sometimes, especially on next gen, your 5-out just won't activate no matter what you do. So sometimes having that quick 5-out play to call really helps out. In addition to that, I do like cut point 3 and like a couple other random like either punch or pin plays. Sometimes I'll do an additional 5-out. I don't ever necessarily use these while I'm playing against the CPU because it's easy to just rim run or on next gen just like abuse pick and rolls. But if I ever need like a bucket quickly, I'll throw a few plays up here. One of them will work at some point. Like there's no money play this year. I've seen a lot of videos essentially hinting that there's money plays that you can use every single possession to score. A, that is incredibly boring, and B, I don't find that to be the case. The CPU this year on both next gen and current gen is significantly better, so I don't really think that there's a quote-unquote money play that will help you score every single possession like there was in past 2Ks, a la 2K20 with quick through STS. Playing on the Utah Jazz court, because why not? We got my boy Wang in the middle about to match up with Dave Cowens. He's not ready for this level of athleticism. So right off the bat, I'm going Hawks 2018. Now, the reason I like Draymond specifically, and why I recommend if you're having trouble with domination to go pick up Draymond, is his speed and ball handling ability at the power forward position is really, really solid. Like, if you know the team you're playing against is going to have at least somewhat of a defensive weakness at the power forward, you can exploit it with Draymond. You could realistically use him most possessions to attack the rim if you need to. Right off the bat, 4-0 lead because Wang and Draymond are just so much faster than what the other guy has. Like, gold PJ Washington. Dave Cowens is a fantastic defender, but he is a little bit slow and sluggish. I don't know if he can keep up with Wang. Wang is huge. Gross. So Allen Houston is one of those cards that I would also say is like a CPU demon. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, when you play domination, I don't know, like I said, if anyone else has felt this same phenomena in, you know, their time with domination. But I just feel like randomly the CPU will just kind of decide that one guy needs to go off for, like, I don't know, realism or something. Like, so they'll pick like a random player. You would think it would be their best player. Like, you would think it'd be Allen Houston or like Cowens or even Pink Diamond Rondo or Cliff Hagan. But no, most of the time it's someone totally random like PJ Washington or some random bench guy that will come out and just start shredding you and not miss. The CPU is unrelenting in their ability to just make shots for no reason on current gen. On next gen, I personally think they miss more. I don't know if that's an algorithm thing though, because I've heard people say that they make almost everything on next gen. So I think it's just very dependent on like what 2K decides is going to happen to you. Jarvis Hayes, let's go. You know, I make that a lot more than you'd think. Look at Brandon Jennings in the corner, splash. There's probably better budget point guards than Brandon Jennings that you could use. I just really like Brandon Jennings. By the way, he does have mismatch expert as his Hoff. That's the difference between like the signature version and the non-signature version. I personally do not think it's a huge deal in regards to the CPU. So if you want to buy the cheaper version, I totally understand. But I've seen people get signed and non-signed for around 2,000 MT, which I think he's absolutely worth. People think he sucks. Like, people talk about how he's bad all the time. But he's not, especially against the CPU. I'm sure against, you know, regular, you know, people on Unlimited, I'm sure he's not the greatest. Yeah, there's a gold PJ Washington just absolutely ranging a three-pointer. Well, it was a 2, thankfully, but this is what I'm saying. You cannot leave the CPU open in this game because they will literally make everything. There's Draymond, slightly early open, and then I break it, of course. But, you know, the team's well constructed. Like, we have a lot of defense. We have a decent amount of ball handling. Rondo just cut through there. The dangers of playing on-ball defense, but realistically, like, the CPU will cheese itself all the time and get open shots. And if the CPU is open, they will make it. I don't think there's very many times you were supposed to attack the basket there, Brandon Jennings, but it's cool. There aren't many times that you'll leave the CPU wide open and they'll miss a shot. Like, it's very rare that occurs. Like, whether it be a 3 or a mid-range, like, they'll crack it no matter realistically who's shooting it. Like, unless they got, for whatever reason, like a Wilt Chamberlain card trying to stroke a 3, which I've never seen. One guy that this happens often with, I don't know why, it's like super weird, is like Kermit Washington for some reason. Like, I don't know, his shot tendency must be super high, because if you leave him open, he'll try to stroke anything and never make anything. It's just strange. That's the only one I've really seen. Look at my man Draymond. He's cutting it up, dude. He can move. Look at, see, there's PJ Washington again. Like I said, coming from across the entire half court to come block that shot with just pure rage in his heart. Draymond must have said something about Brittany Renner. That's why he's all riled up, I'm guessing. All right. Gerald Green is fire as well. See, this is another thing. Like, my man D'Angelo Russell has bad defensive stats and no defensive badges, but yet he's keeping up with gold quick first step Gerald Green with like ridiculous rim attacking badges and stats. The CPU is unrelenting, but I mean, we got a solid lead here. I'm gonna end up winning this game. Look, the key of this is not a gameplay like, ooh, look how good I am. Look, I suck, dude. That's like the whole point I'm trying to make for you guys. So if you're looking for any like assistance in regards to domination and you're just trying to have fun, like, this is a good squad to do. It's a fun squad to play with. It's an effective squad to play with. It helps you get XP done with a lot of signature series guys in the mix as well. More importantly, dude, it's just fun. You can just go off with anyone on this squad. Like, it's if you need to. It's not really that big of a deal. Get out of here, D-Lo. Okay, that's cool. You know, while we're here, can we make layup timing mean something? I mean, obviously the CPU has layup timing turned on, but it honestly does nothing. I can only imagine if they didn't, they would never miss. Like, straight up, they would never miss. With Brandon Jennings, too, you can go down and get in the paint and pump fake a couple times, and you can get some easy scores that way. I mean, it works against human opponents. It also works against the CPU just fine. What are you going to do, Daryl Griffith? Never mind, he's about to... Oh, look at Jarvis out here playing excellent defense. There we go. Come here, give me a screen. Come on, Big Wang. Let's go. Damn, dude. Oh, it's Dave Cowens. I was like, how did you fight her on that screen on Wang? Dave Cowens has that, you know. It's not shocking. We're out to a good lead right here in the first quarter. We'll get the bench unit in here in a second. The bench unit can hold it down, too. I mean, they're definitely less of a scoring unit and more of a defensive unit, but they can do things. There we go, Gerald. Look at that finesse move. This is a solid squad, man. Obviously, if you have guys like Kevin Garnett and like other reward cards that are more high tier, yes, throw them in the game. Clearly, but I mean, this is just kind of a template. Like, look at these budget guys. They can do things. We're up 21-8 right now. We're holding it down. Look at Paul Pierce. Finesse move. Now, I'll be honest, he's not a great card to use on current gen, but this is for my next gen people out there. A lot of these cards are still solid to use on both gens together. You know what I mean? Like, Paul Horizon, I think it's, wow, his free throw is like really slow. Paul Horizon and Jonathan Isaac are both cards that I think are very good on next gen. Like, you know what I mean? I haven't got a chance to test out Gerald Green quite yet, but I'm assuming he's just fine. Paul Pierce is fantastic. What is this? How did I accidentally call it play? What is this play exactly? Okay. They're just like, yeah, go over to the corner and just shoot a super deep #3 with a guy with no range. Thank you, 2K. I appreciate that. That's definitely what I wanted to do with my time. Like, certainly. Look at my man, D-Lo. Come here, dog. Get past Tyrese Maxey. Nerd. Oh, man. Dude, the Timberwolves just beat the Lakers up last night. That was crazy. Look at Paul Horizon. Oh! There's no way that man has ever dunked like that in his entire life. There is just absolutely no way. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Paul Horizon got the ups. I mean, he is 6'4". I feel like he can boom, right? I don't know. I'm 6'1" and I can't dunk, so it's entirely possible that he can. And I think the extra 3 inches probably wouldn't help me. Who's their coach? Is that Taylor Jenkins? I honestly don't know who that guy is. He looks mad, though. He looks upset. They are the Grizzlies, so I'm guessing it's the... Yeah, I'm guessing that's what's happening here. There we go. Oh, come on, Paul Pierce, dude. That was about to be such a block by Dikembe. Allen Houston is pretty not good. I cannot wait until we get a Wes Unseld card. I just really hope he's not expensive. Like, I really do. He's about to be so fire. If DRAYMOND is this good, like, Wes Unseld is going to be significantly better. I'm dead serious. I think I turned on my CPU play calls, which is unfortunate because they called just the worst plays. I highly recommend don't ever do that. Like, never turn on automatic play calls because I promise the CPU will not call anything of note. Like, they'll call the dumbest stuff ever like that. Like, that was a horrible play. Or that play with Paul Pierce where they're just like, dribble over here and then just chuck. Like, no, dude, I'm not going to do that. Come here, PJ Washington. You want this? Dikembe is huge. Good contest on Hagan. This is why I use Dikembe Mutombo, because he comes through and gets rebounds. And honestly, some of the more offensive-minded centers... Oh, yeah, there we go, Paul Horizon. Now, he can definitely do that. Paul Horizon could definitely stroke like that. Maybe not from that deep, but maybe he shouldn't have had slasher takeover, but he can throw it down, for sure. In the game, anyway. I couldn't tell you about real life. Like, somebody let me know if Paul Horizon had booms like that. I just have a general feeling he didn't. Like, oh, yeah. The dangers of playing on-ball defense, especially when you're trash, like me. You know, it's danger abound. 2 minutes left in the half, dude. You can also do this if you're on next gen specifically. Get shooters open. On next gen, it won't specify, like, you know, oh, do you want to get Paul Pierce open? It'll just, you know, generally pick everybody. So if you're running like a very shooter-heavy lineup, everyone will run off-ball pin plays to try to get open. That can always get you easy buckets and easy threes as well. The CPU on next gen doesn't seem to like to defend pin plays properly. They like to get caught in screens very easy. You'll notice this when you play online and you realize the person you're playing against is getting their Diamond Klay Thompson or their Kobe open every single possession by just running in circles past a screen. Very frustrating. So, definitely worth checking those out as well. Dave Cowan, you really couldn't slam that down. Like, you really had to do the little finesse move layup. Gross. Super gross. I have no words. Alright, what's up? Let me use my man Maxey. There we go. Paul Pierce in the corners. Like I said, on current gen, he's not going to be able to shoot from the corners. He's a good defender, decent slasher, and on next gen, he's a solid shooter. Like, his release is great. Paul Pierce release is always fire. It's just you can't shoot from the corners for some reason on current gen. Like I said I've seen this a while ago. I've said this a while ago. I think it's tied to some sort of game-breaking glitch that if they were to fix it, it would destroy the game. Kind of like how they can never stop corners from dropping because it's tied to something that would irreparably... I don't think that's how you say that word. Either way, I'm tired, dude. It would absolutely destroy the game if they were to fix it. So, and I think that has something to do with Melo, Paul Pierce, and LeBron's bases, too. Like, I think if they were to fix it, 2K is tied so much in animation-based stuff that I just feel like sometimes when there's a very easy thing that they could fix, it somehow turns game-breaking. Like, that has to be the only reason that Klay Thompson still hasn't stopped, like, switching onto the center every possession in 2K. Like, that has to be something. It seems to be less bad now, but I still see it happen from time to time. You know, LeBron, Paul Pierce, and Melo not being able to shoot from the corner still, like 4 years after it started happening, has to be something involving the engine. I don't know, or just pure laziness. I got to assume it's not pure laziness though, because it like actually hurts pack revenue. You know what I mean? Melo cards would sell packs so much more if they could shoot from the corners on current gen. Like people literally don't care about Melo for that exact reason. Look at Paul Pierce. You gotta. How are you gonna disrespect Paul Pierce like that? I forgot where I was going with that, but like, he would also sell packs. People like Paul Pierce. He made the NBA 75 team, which I don't know how I feel about that necessarily with T-Mac not on the list, but you know, Mr. Poopy Pants made it, unfortunately, but whatever. Look, we're leading 35-22. I've honestly just been rambling for the past like few minutes, so I kind of wasn't paying attention, but it is what it is. All right, 44-26. We had a decent quarter out here. I don't know, might leave it in, might not, who cares? Realistically, no one's here for the real gameplay. They're just this is all for just proof that I won the game. You know? All right, come on. Oh, what are you doing? I hate Rondo. Sometimes you got to include a gameplay at the end of like, this budget squad will help you win unlimited games, or this budget squad will help you win domination games, etc. Because people just won't believe you if you just post the actual like squad with no gameplay afterwards, regardless like how boring it is. That's literal facts. Anytime I post a limited tips video, which isn't often, but I used to do it in 2K21 occasionally when I had to fire one off quickly with like no gameplay behind it, people would accuse me of just like making shit up all the time. Which is pretty not chill. Look, dude, Paul Horizon is out here. Like, I actually like Paul Horizon a lot. I don't know how well he'd fare in online. I used him in clutch time a little bit, and he was decent, but like I was using him next to, I think, like John Morant or Stockton. I can't remember. I think it was John Morant, though. So like he never really had the ball in his hands, so I'm not really sure. Come on, Dave Cowens. You don't want this mountain of a man right here. Come through. All right. Yeah, Jonathan Isaac. Come on, bro. You got this. Don't let PJ Washington do you. There we go. All right, Paul Pierce again. Yup. Oh, Paul. Come on. I don't know what it is about Paul Pierce's free throw, though. Oh, my God. It's just so slow, and I think it's because I have to shoot with Bill Russell so many times. Every time I play online, people just hack Bill Russell now. Like, if you play against someone who's using Bill Russell and they're good, just start hacking their Bill Russell, because like his free throw is so hard to shoot online that a lot of people are going to miss it. I mean, if the dude comes out in greens too, don't do that anymore, but if he bricks one or two, like, it's an effective strategy when you need it to be. All right, 2 minutes left. As you guys can see, you know, things are going just fine with the squad. We're holding it down. This squad can hold it down for you as well. If not this exact squad, just a squad built in a similar fashion. You know what I mean? Starting lineup with a ball dominant point guard that can score, you know, Wang, obviously a shooting center, something of that nature. If you don't want to use Wang, you know, obviously guys like Garnett, Mike In, Bill Russell will obviously hold it down. I like Wang because he's like 90 feet tall. You know, a slasher at the 2 guard. I'm using Gerald Green for budget reasons, but obviously you can get away with using Klay Thompson, whoever, even Bingo Smith is fine as like a slasher 2 guard. And then a defensive lockdown guy at the 3 who's also a good shooter. You know, Jarvis Hayes in this case, but, you know, someone like, I mean, Chris Mullin isn't a defensive lockdown guy necessarily, but he plays competent defense and he's a lockdown shooter. Knockdown shooter. I don't know why I said lockdown shooter. That doesn't sound good. Decent. And then like a stretch 4. Just somebody who can be a secondary ball handler, but at the same time plays decent defense. You know, guys like that would have been like Mike In, you know, obviously Draymond, Jonathan Isaac could be considered that as well on an extreme budget. So I don't know. Giannis obviously would be another one. He's not really the greatest shooter, but he can kind of do everything else, you know. Yeah, give me the screen. Arrow, look at my man Jarvis Hayes just splashing out here. But you too can win these domination games, and I highly recommend doing it because there's so many free packs. There's so much MT. I mean, there's not a crazy amount. I think it's like 33,000, but like It's 33,000 you're going to get anyway, and that's not even counting what you can sell from packs. Probably won't pull anything of note, but I mean, you might. Who knows? Like, there's a lot of free packs in the mix up in here, so maybe you'll get something good. And then there's like a decent amount of tokens and stuff too, where if you're not going for token level, you can obviously exchange those for the 3 silver badge pack and 3 token silver badge pack is what I should say. And you can stack up on those. Silver badges are kind of high right now, which is weird because these packs exist for everyone, so I'm shocked no one's like really opening them. People get really obsessed about keeping their tokens around this time though for the first Opal token rewards. And I understand because they've been fire for the last couple years. Like 2K20s were like really good. Look at DRAYMOND. 2K21's first wave of Opals were solid. Like Gary Payton, Bill Russell, and Rick Barry were really good. And then we got Moses Malone, who was like literally the best center in the game, in my opinion anyway. Besides AD, I think AD was a little bit better, but there you go. There's proof. 65-37. Not the greatest game I've ever played, but also just a fine game. Really hold it down. I got 995 MT. I just feel like the MT per domination game just kind of went down. But anyways, let me know down in the comments below what your domination squad is. If you're having any specific issues, holler at me in the comments. I will respond for the most part, or I'll at least heart it. So have a good day, you guys. I'll be back with more content at another date.